it's that time of the week when we go out to the other coast, the west coast of the United States of America, and check in with Michael Snyder to see what's happening with the movies. Hello, Michael.
Well, hi, Alex, and greetings, listeners. Hope everyone's well and thriving and ready for the Easter weekend, the Passover weekend. You know, it's Good Friday when we're recording this, although it just seems like kind of okay Friday at the moment. But maybe by the end of the day, it'll be Good Friday again or better Friday. But we do have some interesting films opening, so we should get right to that. Ready Player One, a sci-fi action movie about a gamer in the year 2045 who wants to win the greatest online game of all, is an adaptation of yet another so-called young adult bestseller. This one, of course, entitled Ready Player One, and it's directed by Steven Spielberg, coming on the heels of one of his, let's call them adult movies, The Post, which was a very workmanlike but flat film about the Washington Post publication of the Pentagon Papers. So, you know the deal. But by comparison, Ready Player One is a total romp. Our young hero is Wade, whose avatar online is known as Parzival. He's played by the young actor Ty Sheridan, and Wade worships James Halliday, the late creator of the online world called the Oasis. And Halliday was this super wealthy nerd who left his entire fortune and control of the Oasis to whoever can find and enter his digital realm, score 3 keys that will allow the victor to gain access to his treasure and live happily ever after. Parzival is joined by female gamer Artemis, played in real life by Olivia Cook, who was in the cool recent teen noir Thoroughbreds. And there are other youthful comrades who join him on his quest, and so on into the Matrix, if you will. I mean, it helps that Mark Rylance portrays Halliday, Simon Pegg is Halliday's estranged business partner, and Ben Mendelsohn is the villainous corporate head who wants to control the Oasis for his own greedy, evil ends. Was the movie fun most of the time? Yes. Was it exciting? Visually, for sure. It's a blend of digital animation and live action. More than half the film visits the online world, depicted as very hyper-real or stylized. And it's filled with pop culture touchstones such as the Iron Giant, Jason from Friday the 13th, and others too numerous to mention. People's avatars come from pop culture in large form. The rest of the movie is set amid kind of Jenga-like stacks of trailer homes where the poor live in Columbus, Ohio, plus the city streets and industrial headquarters and more upscale locations of the city. Some of the action segments are amazing. I mean, there's a digital car race that was mind-blowing. But the movie also asks us to care about an online VR world where the disenfranchised and digitally hypnotized people are escaping because life is so crappy. And those people are so wrapped up in it, rather than, be excited for them, you kind of pity them. I mean, it's an adventure and a mystery, a classic quest with large dollops of the hero's journey, but the dystopian setting and our hero and his comrades trying to win ownership and control of the Oasis lead to kind of a sense that the stakes are muddled. And there's an element that seems to put real world dangers and online dangers on the same plane, which is kind of crazy. And then there's like a punishment meted out to people who lose all their tokens. I mean, it's confusing in that regard. But was I entertained for 2 hours? Absolutely. Did I think it was a great film? No. Ready Player One, if you want to play the game, I think you're on your own. You'll have to decide whether it's worth your time and effort after hearing all that doggerel from me. I can be much more positive about Gemini, which is a modern female-centric noir movie. That might be a thing coming on the heels of Thoroughbreds, but here's Gemini, which is an interesting twist on that whole movie biz underbelly crime drama set in L.A., a.k.a. Hollywood, and following the escapades of people in the business who find themselves in a very dark place. In that regard, it kind of echoes The Player, maybe a little L.A. Confidential, albeit updated, but there's a girls component. Well, Lola Kirk, sister of one of the actress's own girls, and also pretty well known if you have been watching Mozart in the Jungle, she plays a personal assistant character who has to deal with the needs and demands of her diva-like celebrity actress boss, who here is played by Zoe Kravitz. And things get really hairy when murder enters the equation. John Cho plays a cop looking into the crime. Everybody's very, very good in this thing. I was pretty impressed with it. I enjoyed most every moment of the film, and it's kind of moody, and it was right in my wheelhouse. Let's put it that way. And I really like Lola Kirk. She seems really earthy and kind of accessible, and I think that really helps. So I totally enjoyed Gemini, but it will read well on home video. Moving on to Finding Your Feet. It's a new geriatric rom-com from England. Finding Your Feet. The elderly find purpose and romance in addition to their feet. I mean, the movie had its charms, and I love the main players involved, including Imelda Staunton as Lady Sandra Abbott, whose husband has cheated on her, driving her to the scruffy council block apartment of her carefree bohemian sister, played by Celia Imrie. And Timothy Spall is here as a handyman with a big heart. And even Joanna Lumley from Ab Fab and other renowned television projects is on board as a fellow oldie but goodie. And they're all part of a seniors dance group that help the broken Lady Sandra come out of her shell, one would hope. The cast also includes John Sessions, and from Whose Line Is It Anyway, UK version, Josie Lawrence. You're dealing with really talented people, and they didn't disappoint.
The name again on this picture is?
Finding Your Feet. But I could see the plot twists. And I could see all the changes and emotional beats coming from miles away. It takes talented people to make these cliched moments not ring false, and these guys are talented. This was kind of pleasant and heartfelt in a bittersweet and all too familiar way. But, ultimately it was awfully familiar stuff. Richard Loncraine was the director. He's good at what he does, and so was the cast. All right, let's wrap up quickly with two French movies. Ismail's Ghosts is a romantic drama concerning a filmmaker whose life is sent into a tailspin by the return of a former lover just as he's about to begin a new film. This is a stellar French cast led by Mathieu Amalric, Marion Cotillard, and Charlotte Gainsbourg. These are names we know and respect here in the UK, in the US, and they do good work. But the movie itself is pretty elliptical stuff, really dark and troubling at times, but you kind of expect it from the director, who has done a number of films like this, some of them, I think, better. Arnaud Desplechin, and this is not my favorite work from him, but the star quality of the cast is indisputable, and Amalric and Cotillard in particular are compelling to a point. I'm leaning toward positive on this, but it would definitely benefit for a second viewing, and maybe people will not have the patience to do that. There are other better films by this guy. And let's wrap up with Back to Burgundy, which in French is known as Ce qui nous lie, What Binds Us. And if you like the director Cedric Klapisch's earlier whimsical ensemble pieces like L'Auberge Espagnole and Russian Dolls, you'll probably enjoy this somewhat more serious look at three siblings who are facing the future of their family vineyard when their vintner father falls ill. The cast is really solid. We get a close-up look at the process over the course of an entire season of making wine, of harvesting, dealing with all the personnel you have to deal with to get the grapes, to turn the grapes into wine, to test everything. And maybe that's not what people are excited about, but I thought it was pretty fascinating for the most part. Again, this is not his greatest work either, but for those who enjoy Klapisch's films, I would recommend that they check this out. What are you watching on TV or at the movies, Mr. Bennett?
Not watching much on TV or at the movies. I don't, Lemony Snicket starts today on Netflix, which I'm looking forward to. And in movies on DVD, I haven't bought DVDs in quite a while. I see no reason to. Because these things get online so fast that there's no reason to. But this one film is a very special project that has been about 80 years in the making. And it is the release finally of a really beautiful print and restored print of Paul Whiteman's King of Jazz from 1930. And it is the first movie in which Bing Crosby ever appeared. And he plays his Rhapsody in Blue, and it's got some great numbers like Happy Feet. Great film. And if it's your cup of tea, I think that you should be aware that it's out, it's restored, and it's even got a nice booklet in it, and it's got a lot of extra features about the making of the film by a guy by the name of David Pierce, who I know personally and who is an aficionado of this particular picture. But if you've never seen King of Jazz, you're missing just an interesting two-color Technicolor film.
And it's basically about Paul Whiteman and his orchestra, or it features him?
No, it's a review. It's a review.
Oh, cool. And there's a version of Rhapsody in Blue. Wow.
Yeah. Played by almost all the same musicians who did the original composition. I think it was debuted at Carnegie Hall, except for Gershwin. Gershwin doesn't play the piano on it.
I mean, it sounds worth checking out to me. In the meantime, I'm kind of enjoying Barry, which is the new dark dramedy style sitcom. And that's on HBO. You can check me out online at Culture Blaster on Twitter and Michael Snyder's Culture Blast page on Facebook.
And there'll be more Michael Snyder next week and more movies, because they never stop making the goddamn things. And in the meantime, we never stop making GABNet either, and there's more of it coming up right now.